Hi, my name is Olivia Cacciatore, and the overarching theme for this week's reading was compliance. This will fit perfectly into what I will be discussing is my experience with the organization I am currently at, which is GMAG, or commonly referred to as GM Advisory Group. They are located in Melville, New York. So that's about 30 minutes from Hofstra, and they also have a location in the city. So currently, I am a compliance intern, which is why it was so fitting to just read these articles and then also present on them. So I really work underneath the chief compliance officer, and I'm basically her right hand man. It's a wonderful organization to be a part of, and I've definitely learned a lot. And most importantly, just how important it is to have a real compliance system where, the leader, so for example, our chief compliance officer just has such high integrity that they really seek employees that also share those similar values, and that's what we really look for. Also, just being very familiar with the SEC and regulatory agencies and their policies and procedures, just to make sure that we are following the correct rules and regulations and any policies and procedures that ensure that we are not only being fraudulent, but we are also being very transparent with our clients. So what this really encompasses is just really understanding our market, the financial industry, and trigger warnings, as stated in one of the articles, that can be involved in these types of situations where firms may be involved in fraudulent activities, and then the SEC comes in and finds all this unreported information, and unfortunately that firm is then complicated. It's also really important to self-report potential violations. So, for example, one of my job responsibilities is to keep track of employee personal trading to make sure that there's no insider trading going on and that we don't trade on certain tickers and symbols for clients that own those organizations or have any strong relationships with that could interfere with our firm and any potential conflicts. So what I do daily is I check that, and I make sure that they are not trading any restricted tickers, and also that they are getting approval from our CCO, which will give them a 24-hour time frame of when they will be able to execute the trade that they did ask approval for. Also, we have a monthly compliance meeting that really just reaffirms, our ethical standards and morals within the firm, and all the policies and procedures that we are taking to make sure that each department, whether it's the investment department or the accounting and finance department, are running very smoothly. Part of my job is also record keeping and bookkeeping and just reconciling information that was reported and seeing if there are any potential conflicts, because when the SEC comes in, we want to report to them if there have been any violations prior, so just in case, at the very least, the cost won't be as badly. And yeah, so it's very interesting to see just how important a compliance system is in the financial industry. So, for example, before I started my internship, obviously I knew what compliance meant, the definition, and that it's important to follow through, but I never really gave it much thought. And so at my current internship, it really just highlights and really just reaffirms that, you know, the financial industry can be very tricky, which is why it's so important to have the correct leaders in line for these organizations, because, you know, one person can do one bad thing, but it will reflect poorly on everyone in the firm. So just having someone in charge, really just building the trust with employees, saying that if there was ever anything going on, that if they could report it, or if they could just come clean, it would be better for everyone. And I think that's a very important lesson that I've learned. And really just overall, the ethics involved and the integrity that you have to be involved with compliance, really just, you know, it's very inspiring to be around such ethical people that want to not only want the firm to succeed, but also want to make sure that the employees are following all the right rules, that no one will get hurt. And that's what I really view compliance as. It's not really more of, you know, a red light, green light, yellow light, in the sense of like a police officer. It's really just someone who's, you know, looking out for the firm in their best interest, you know, being transparent with not only their clients, but their employees as well. And I think that's very important. I think that, you know, there should be multiple standards, which there are a lot of rules and regulations that firms have to follow, and just incorporating a good culture within firms, businesses, any types of companies that can really just install this type of environment. So a question that I, you know, try to think of daily is, how can a company improve their compliance system? And more importantly, how can the SEC and other regulatory agencies really just try to influence companies to have a great compliance system in case any potential conflicts do occur? And I think that's a really important question that we should discuss. What improvements in programs do we see fit, and, you know, what works? I definitely think that going back to bookkeeping and record keeping and just reconciling past events, just making sure that everything was correct, I think that is probably the most effective way for now. But it would definitely be very interesting if anyone else had any thoughts on that.